Hi guys, today I'm going to be teaching you how to use a green screen. I'm going to break it down into some easy to understand steps. I'll tell you things about compression, what lights to use, and then we'll take it into Adobe Premiere and I'll show you the basics on how to key. So hopefully your green screen should look something like this one. So when you're using a green screen, one of the main things for me is to light it evenly. That's one of the main things. If you've got hot spots, it's going to make your life 10 times harder in post. So make sure it's lit evenly with nice soft light. I'll break down the lights that we use later on. Clothing is quite a big thing. Don't wear green tops if you're on a green screen. Don't wear anything blue on a blue screen, that's obvious. If you're filming people that have sort of frizzy hair and they're wearing fur and sort of see-through-y materials, that's going to be a bit harder to key out in post. So the sort of clothing I'm wearing now is typically fine, unless I was on a blue screen. But yeah, trying to avoid stuff like that. The codec is another massive thing really. You don't want to be shooting at 8-bit in 420 like a DSLR or a C100. If you are using them types of cameras, they're fine, but you probably do want to use an external recorder just so you've got a bit more colour information. If you're shooting on something like we are today on a Blackmagic in ProRes HQ or ProRes 444 or even RAW, they're 10-bit, 12-bit, 16-bit. They're going to have a lot more colour information to play with, so it's going to key out no problem. When you're shooting your plates, make sure you shoot your plates first. Don't come inside and shoot your green screen stuff because you don't know how the lighting's going to be when you go outside, for example. So make sure you shoot the plate stuff first. And when you're out there, make sure you note down things like the camera height, the tilt of the camera, the lens information, what focal length you're at, what f-stop. Note all that down just so it's as even as possible. You don't want to be shooting your plates at 85mm and then shoot your close-up stuff on the green screen at 18 or whatever. It's not going to match. So make sure the focal lengths are the same. And don't stand too close to the green screen. Make sure you stand a few yards away because if you stand close you're going to get a lot of spill on your jaw and on your arms and your ears and stuff, and it means when you key it, it's going to be hacking your face away. So just take a few steps forward. I find 2 meters or whatever is enough, but the further away you stand the better really. And it also helps if it's a little bit out of focus. If it's a little bit soft and a bit creamy, it sort of helps that key as well. Shooting in a higher resolution helps a little bit. It's not really a big deal. 1080p is fine, but we tend to shoot our green screen stuff in 4K. Just gives you, it gives you 4 times as many pixels essentially. So it just makes it a little bit easier for you. So I'm going to break down how I light a green screen, the lights that I use, and some tools that I use like a light meter, and then we'll show you some examples of that. So this is one of the lights that I'm going to be using. We're actually going to be using 2 of these lights. It's the Pixapro VNIX 1500S. It's an LED panel. It's a 1x1 panel. When you're lighting a green screen, you typically want to use the same type of lights, whether it be fluorescent or LEDs. These are the best types really. They're quite soft. The great thing about this is I can actually run it off V-mount batteries as well. It also has this little antenna, which means that instead of manually dimming it on the back of here, you can use a remote. So if I'm far away or these are high up on a truss or anything like that, I can just stand back and dim them. So this remote is really useful. You want to light the green screen with as much soft light as you can really. If it's a harder light, it makes it not difficult, but it's not as good. So Pixapro actually sell these sort of flexible soft boxes. So basically this just goes over the barn doors like this, and then once you open up the barn doors, it actually you've got a softbox basically straight away. So that's what I actually use to light the green screen. So I'm going to set 2 of these up now on the green screen, and then I'll go around with my light meter and see how even it is, and then we'll go from there. So I've got these lights set up now, these LED panels. I've put the soft boxes on them, like I said, just to give a bit of a soft, more even spread so it's not quite as focused. I've actually got this green screen on a tripod bag down here. Now that's the beauty of these pop-up backgrounds, is that you don't need any kind of big stands or like a roll or anything like that. They're fully portable and we've just chucked it up against the wall and it's working fine. I'm going to use my Sekonic L758C light meter just to check that this is as even as it looks to my eye. So if I take some meter readings now, I'm getting about F8 all the way to F8 and 2/10. So there is a little bit of a difference, but not really much at all. I can dim that down. Now, if you've not got a light meter, I do highly recommend using one, but if you've not got one, there's two things you can do. One of them is to use false colour if your camera's got it. It's a brilliant tool. If not, what you can do, if you're using, say, like a DSLR, for example, you can stop the lens down by quite a few stops, and what that's going to do is going to underexpose the image, and it's going to reveal sort of any hot spots that the lights might be given, so you can move them around. But I'm fully happy with this now. The only problem I've got is that I'm stood so close to the green screen that these lights are actually lighting me and casting a shadow, and I'm at risk really of having a bit of spill on my face. So if I start to walk forward into the key light that we've set up, I'm not being lit by these anymore. The green screen's untouched, and this light is purely focusing on me. Something that I use to kind of focus the light a bit more is I've used a softbox to get the soft light, but I've also used an egg crate, or a grid, some people call them. What that's going to do is it's going to help to focus the light a little bit more and stop the light from sort of spreading off to the left and the right and so on. Quite important when you're using green screens, or anytime you don't want the light to just spread across the room, you want to kind of focus it on the subject. An egg crate is brilliant. And you can buy that with the softbox that Pixapro do. It's a 2000 LED panel that we use, in case you're curious. It's basically two of these stuck together, fully dimmable, and you can dim it wirelessly as well, which is useful for the camera guy. So we've shot some footage earlier that I used for the introduction. I'm going to take that into Premiere now, and I'm going to do a bit of a tutorial and show you the basics on how to key in Premiere. Okay, so we're in Adobe Premiere CC 2017 now. There are better softwares to use for keying. After Effects is probably the best you can use, but I don't have that, and plus I want to show you what I used at the beginning of the video, so let's get straight into it. So it's very important first that you put your green screen clip over your plate shot. Then if you go over to Effects and type in Key, you'll see down at the bottom there's something called Ultra Key. Now if you drag that onto the shot of the green screen, go over to the left and select the dropper and click what you consider to be the most even green. So I'd say about there is pretty good, and you can see that's keyed very well straight away. Again, just to stress the importance of, you must light a green screen evenly. As you can see, this is lit pretty even. It's not perfect, it's a bit dark in the corners, but overall it's very good, and you can see that's keyed very well. So if you go over to check how good this is, if you go over to Output and Composite, if you change that to Alpha Channel, you'll see that it's not actually that perfect at all. You want your subject to be white and you want your background to be black. So if you go to Matte Generation, and you can play around with the highlights and the shadows. So for example, if I move this up and down, you can see how that's affecting it. But there are some very handy presets here that I like to use. There's Default, Relaxed and Aggressive. Relaxed is usually way too relaxed, and aggressive for me usually works quite well. I don't think it's very aggressive at all really, I think it's just right. So if I go back to Composite, you can see that that's keyed very well. Now like I say, this wasn't ideal, this wasn't perfect, but it was very good. The green screen was lit evenly, there's not really a lot of creases and wrinkles, but you can see that there's a little bit of an issue. My hair here is sticking out, and I've got a bit of frizzy hair which never usually keys out very well. But I shot this in 4K with very little compression. I shot it in ProRes Quad 4, which is very good for green screen work. There's a lot of information, not a lot of compression in that, and you can see that it's worked very well. So the only next step then is to colour grade. I won't really be going into colour grading, it's quite an in-depth topic. But if your plate shot is different than your green screen shot, you might just want to tweak the exposure and the colour temperature so it matches like this, and then you can grade them together. So for example, I can add an adjustment layer here in the project settings. I can go to New Item, I can click Adjustment Layer, make sure that these settings match. Make sure these settings match your sequence settings like they do. Add that over, and then now when I add Lumetri Colour to this, I can just really quickly add on a LUT that I've one of my favourite LUTs. If I go to Browse, and there we go, I've got like a very quick basic look on the footage, and it's looking great. I can tweak it a little bit more, but yeah, overall it's good. Like I say though, it is so important to shoot with as little compression as you can and make sure the green screen is lit with nice soft white lighting. But yeah, overall that's it. It's very basic. So thanks for watching, guys.